is at the top, in the top right-hand corner of the window. Speaker view and gallery view will appear up there, and they have these little icons. If you click speaker view, it's going to show the person that's speaking, regardless of who that is. It's going to show in the biggest box. And if you click gallery view, you're going to be able to see a whole bunch of people that are on the call. And often that includes more than one page. So you'll be able to see the boxes for all of the attendees. And since everyone's going to have their camera on, we're all going to hope that all of our connections are working great and we can all have our cameras on and see each other today. And then also at the very bottom, if you'll go back down there again, you'll have that chat option. Anytime if you have a question, need anything clarified, feel free to drop that in there, and we've got some people that will be keeping an eye on that and can address those questions or comments. So our agenda for today is, first of all, the welcome. Welcome again. And here pretty soon we're going to hear some updates from our Farm to School and Early Care Coalition. And that's going to be by Chelsea. She's going to tell us some things that we've got going on that we're doing for Farm to School and Early Care across the state. At 1:20, and we're going to really try to stay on time today, we'll be breaking into smaller groups and be talking about what we're doing coming up for Farm to School month, which is in October. So everybody will get a chance to share some ideas that you have and be able to learn some ideas from some other people too. And Local Food Day is coming up in October as well, so we'll be talking about that. And then we have a real treat today at 1:45. We have Next Step Adventure here with us, and they're going to be talking to us about outdoor and inside adventures. And then we will wrap up the day with breaking into groups again to discuss local food connections. And during that time, if you are representing K-12, you will join a separate Zoom. And if you are in early care and education, you'll actually just stay right on this link. So we will try to give you directions as we go along and just keep you up to speed with what you need to click on and what you need to do. So just listen carefully and follow right along. A little thanks to our planning committee at the bottom. This couldn't have been done without all those folks. So thank you for those of you that were on the planning committee. For early care and education, we learned a few things from our June virtual gathering, and we're making it a lot easier this time. So if you are wanting to receive DHS credit for today's training, you must stay on for the entire time for the training. And then at the end, we will be able to actually review all of the attendees that were on and the participation time of each of those in order to actually award the correct number of hours for the training. So in order to get the training, you need to be on the whole time. Because of the way that we actually put it into the iPower system in June, I know it was an issue that you didn't get the full 2 hours, but we've got that worked out as well. As long as you're on the call the whole time, you will get the full 2 hours. And then within 2 weeks, you will get your certificate emailed to you. So keep in mind that you should be registered individually for this training because each person that's individual or each person that's registered and indicated that they want the DHS credits will be the one who gets the certificate in the mail with their name on it. So I guess that's about it. If you do have any questions about DHS credit at all beyond that, feel free to send me a message in the chat as well. So with that, we will move on to an amazing opportunity that we have. There is a webinar that's being offered by National Farm to School. They call it a network movement meeting, and they're hosting that on October 14th. Oops, sorry, my screen is going crazy. October 14th, and it's going to be led by activist Karen Washington. Sorry. And it's going to be a deep conversation reflecting on racial justice in the farm to school movement and also the wider food system. So You'll be able to connect with fellow farm to school and food justice advocates all across the country, dig into conversations about what it means to shift power, and to help shape the next steps of progress towards our vision to a just food system for all. Everyone is welcome and encouraged to attend that, and we're hoping that you'll be able to join it and you don't have to have any experience in farm to school or early care at all to do that. Please join in that conversation. We've got some really important things happening there. So we hope to see you there. And now it's time for some updates from our coalition.
Awesome. Thank you, Krista. Hi, everyone. This is Chelsea Christ. I'm with Iowa State Extension's Farm, Food, and Enterprise Development Program, and I'm one of the 3 co-chairs serving with the Iowa Farm to School and Early Care Coalition. So excited to share some updates and resources that will be coming your way soon after the training today. First off, I think we shared this in our last virtual training, but we have a new website and logo that will be launching in October. While it's not live yet, you can still see and bookmark this link, www.iowafarmtoschool.earlycare.org, and this will be released early October. So this will serve as a one-stop location for information about Iowa Farm to School and Early Care. It will host resources for finding local food, recommended curriculum and lessons, a searchable database of farm to school and early care tools, information about all of our statewide partners, upcoming events, projects, and a technical assistance request box. So as you look through the website, as you're planning projects, as you come up with questions or ideas that you want to connect directly with members of the coalition about, we will have a space for that on the website. And so much more. So this is currently under construction and will be being released in celebration of Farm to School Month in October, pretty soon. Also coming your way, we've had some really exciting evaluation of the Iowa Farm to School and Early Care Network that's led to the creation of 2 reports, an Iowa Farm to Early Care and Education Survey, and the first ever annual report from the Iowa Farm to School and Early Care Network. So these are exciting. I know they're just evaluation reports, but they're really important for showing the growing involvement and investment in farm to school and early care across the state. And we will use this on a state level, but also can be used on local levels to make policy recommendations, share statewide data in grant applications, and continue to share and connect all of our stories of farm to school and early care happening across the state and across time. So a couple of highlights from both of these reports that I just wanted to share quickly. This is just one infographic from an executive summary that is a piece of the Farm to Early Care and Education report. So this evaluation, this survey was conducted from March 2nd to April 26th in 2020. And 834 people working in early care and education settings responded to the survey, representing 95 of Iowa's 99 counties. So this slide shows an image from the executive summary, which I will share with everyone after the training. And the full report will be on our new website in October. But it's really exciting to see the kind of information that we were able to collect that sites shared, and it's broken down by different providers. So on a state level, evaluation like this is really important for informing state level strategy and can be used at the local and the community level to guide and give context to sites and providers about other programs and their experience with farm to school and early care work. So this is an image just to show different strategies, barriers, and benefits that different sites providing farm to school and early care education are experiencing. And there's a lot more to this report than that. So that will be coming after the training, along with a copy of the Iowa Farm to School and Early Care's annual report. So this is the executive summary from that. And this report details lots of things. Key recommendations and accomplishments from 2019-2020. This is from research by the Iowa Farmers Union, state public policy group, and several folks and organizations involved with our coalition. State level financial information and investments in Iowa Farm to School and Early Care, collective data around Iowa Farm to School and Early Care. Again, these pieces being really useful for fundraising and grant writing at different levels. A big portion of this report is to share highlights of collaborative projects and different programs coming out of organizations involved in farm to school and early care. And so we hope that this will help to grow awareness of our farm to school and early care work as a coalition and as a network, and showcase and share all of the important things that are happening at the community level and the state level all of the time. So these will be coming. If you do have questions about anything within the report, you can email our coalition email address, which we will share at the end of this presentation today. All right. Next, we're going to have Carrie Scheidel from the Department of Ed move us into our breakout activity.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Chelsea. My name is Carrie Scheidel. I'm with the Iowa Department of Education, and happy to be a part of the planning committee for today's webinar, as well as the coalition. So as an initiative of local foods in schools and early care settings. And then October 4th is a local day here in Iowa, where we feature local products in the school meals as well as childcare menus. So we are excited about these two upcoming events, and we would like to do some breakouts. And when you're placed into a breakout, there'll be a Jamboard. And this is a new concept. We tested it out, and hopefully it works well. And those of you that have used it before may have seen how great this type of interactive activity is. So if you go to the next slide, Krista. Here's an example what it'll look like. So in the chat box, there'll be a link for each Jamboard. And if you're not able to find the link that you're supposed to be at or not, it's okay, because when you go to your breakout, the facilitator will have that Jamboard link. So then they'll be able to open it. But if you're able to access it, you can collaborate at that time. So when you're in your breakout, you'll be able to add little sticky notes, kind of like what's here, and just generate some ideas during the breakout of some activities you could do to promote either National Farm to School Month and or local food day in childcare centers or in schools.
All right. Breakout rooms closed. Everyone made it back, it looks like. Thanks for trying that out, y'all. We did breakout rooms plus Jamboards plus screen sharing, just a lot going on. And we are excited to see a compilation of all of those really exciting inspirational plans for Farm to School Month. As we do our next presentation with Next Step Adventure, Lynn Jenkins will be compiling all of those Jamboards, and we'll get to see a beautiful idea board come together at the end, and we will share that out afterwards. So I'm excited to introduce our next speakers from Next Step Adventure. We have Shelly Johnson and Martha McCormick, who will be giving us about a half-hour presentation around outdoor and inside adventures. So Martha and Shelly, if you can unmute, I will pull up your slides. Can everyone see this okay?
Chelsea, can you hear me? This is Shelly.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can hear you, Shelly.
Okay, great. My screen started jumping around, and it could be user error. But now I see the screen share, and my heart's not racing anymore. So that's good. Okay.
Is it possible to make your screen, the printing, just a tiny bit larger?
Yes.
Chelsea? Oh, okay. Cool.
How's that?
That's better.
Better?
Thank you.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Should we go ahead and get started? Is that cool?
Yep.
Okay, so my name again is Shelly Johnson, and I am one of the team members at Next Step Adventure. And I'm going to get us started, and thankfully Chelsea is going to drive the computer during our presentation. So Chelsea, if you would click on what is Next Step Adventure, the Next Step Adventure website should pop up, and you all can see our home screen. And as it loads, then Chelsea, if you would scroll down a little bit, there are 6 icons. And you can see our 6 different offerings: team building, coaching for growth, social justice, mindfulness and movement, outdoor education, and art for life. And then if you're interested, you can go to the website and click on one of those icons, and then it will lead you to more information related to those. And if you would want to get in touch with us after the session, if there's any way we can help you, like on a one-to-one basis, Chelsea, if you scroll up, our bios and our profile information are in the About tab there on the top towards the left. So please know that if there's a question you have that we don't get to today, feel free to reach out to us after the session or at any time. And then if you want to go back to the Google Doc, Chelsea, typically when we do in-person trainings, we always like to start with a full value contract. But in these times, we have changed that a little bit, and we now have a virtual full value contract. And the first thing we ask is that you value yourself. We're going to ask you to share some comments and take a poll and do some fun things. And so we just want you to be brave in sharing your comments and questions, that you value others and be considerate in listening. We ask that you value this community, being open to meeting or connecting with someone afterwards. Like if someone says something or shares something and you're like, oh, that would work awesome for my group, jot their name down and then contact Chelsea or Krista, and you can definitely get in touch with them afterwards. So please value the community. And then we ask that you value the learning experience. We may cover something that's new to you today, and we just hope that you're willing to try it or be open to it. The next thing we're going to do is a poll. So Chelsea has created this poll for us, and she's going to put it up on the screen. Chelsea, I might turn it over to you. Oh, awesome. It just pops right up. I have not done a Zoom poll yet. This is my first Zoom poll. So if you would just take a minute here and go through these questions and answer them, and then when you're done, you can click submit. And we'll take a look at the results in 1 minute.
All right, looks like we got 47 out of 60 people have voted.
Okay.
The last couple seconds, and then I will close it whenever you're ready, Shelly.
Sounds good. Whenever you would like to close it.
Okay, do it now.
Awesome. And then Chelsea, will it show us our result? Oh, awesome.
Yeah, can you see all of it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Fantastic. So it looks like a lot of us are feeling good today physically. Some are feeling so-so. Mentally, about the same. We just feel that it's important to check in with ourselves, check in with yourself a few times throughout the day, and see how you're doing. What age groups do you work with? Oh, it's great. Kind of that lower elementary is where most of us are, but right above and right below that also. Great. We have resources for all of those age groups, so that's great. We'll be sharing those with you here in just a few minutes. Awesome. Over half of you do have a garden. Great. And we hope that this presentation will give you guys some tools to use the outdoors more often, or make it a little bit easier for you to take your children and students outside for learning. So one last question I'm going to put in the chat box is, what is one thing you could use help with in order to use the outdoors or the garden more often for learning? And again, we're just going to take 1 minute, and if you could type something in there. What is one thing you could use help with in order to use the outdoors or the garden more often for learning? Go. Excellent. I see a lot of people put things related to support. And Martha will be sharing some documents with you that we hope will be helpful to you as you try to gather that support, and why it's important to take kids outside. We definitely will share some activity ideas. As far as the supplies go, I see that several times. I'm actually going to do a little research on that, because at one time I believe there was a group who gave out some grants related to that, but I'm not sure if they still do. So I'm going to look into that, and I'll get in touch with Chelsea and she can send it out. Organization and ideas. Okay. Awesome. Still reading. Fantastic. Help and volunteers. I saw that several times. Martha and I hope that the information we give you today will make it easy for you to convince people to come help you and to be more open and willing to help with taking kids outdoors. So thank you very much for your participation in the poll and in the comments. I am going to turn it over to Martha, and she is going to talk about how and why we should take kids outdoors.
Hi, I'm Martha McCormick. I am in my Encore career, and actually I retired from ISU Extension in 2006, and I'm really glad to see all the Extension people here today. It's very exciting for me to see that you're doing this work and getting kids outdoors, because that's really been a focus of my career for my whole life. So I love it that that work is being continued. We continue at Next Step Adventure to grow and change. I've learned that the definition of an adventure is that you don't know how it's going to turn out. And I think we are in a pretty big adventure right now in the world with the pandemic, and learning how to do all these things online. Adventures are really challenging, and they're also exciting, and they can be fun. And I think that with young people and with kids, I think it's really important for us to make them fun when we can. So I'm going to go off the script just a tiny bit, Chelsea. My kind of topic is working with kids outdoors. And you can see kind of my outline there, but I'm not going to stick to that too much. We will be showing you some of the resources and stuff for sure. But I want to do just a little bit of storytelling, and I may share my screen if I can do that and not step too hard on Chelsea's toes. So I want to start with a story of the very first gardening I did, which was, and this is one of the whys, was in Cedar Rapids in my very first extension job. And there was a group of expanded food and nutrition education staff and volunteers who were working with a garden at a school that was working with special needs kids. And I was able to visit that garden and see the kids that were having trouble being engaged in a classroom, being very invested in the school garden. So that was one of my first experiences with gardening with kids. And I've continued to see that same thing throughout my career. I did a school garden with the botanical gardens with Carver Elementary School. We had 20 raised beds, and I met a group of kindergarten through about second graders at those raised beds the first day we met in the spring. Oh, I don't know, maybe 2010 or 11. And we had this huge pile of mulch, and we had a big wheelbarrow and adult-sized shovels. And seeing those kids come down, they were in the Boys and Girls Club Care Center there, and they came down the hill, and I thought, oh, how are these kids going to get that mulch in those gardens? And they did, and they grew things, and they got vegetables and fruit. We grilled asparagus that spring. So that why, the biggest why is the engagement, that we can get kids with learning, connecting them. Another big why in my career has been that we continue to learn that the most important thing for kids to grow up and to develop resilience is for them to have positive relationships with adults. And a garden is a wonderful place. The outdoors is a wonderful place to establish relationships with kids. So that happens with the adults working alongside with the kids and stuff like that. So I'm gonna I'll go ahead and have Chelsea take you to the Why Take Kids Outdoors link. I keep wanting to click on the screen. And this piece, we're not going to read through it. I just kind of want to show you that it's here. And Chelsea, can you, can I go ahead and share my screen? Would that be okay? Okay, cool. Now I have to remember how to do that. And I am going to share the Next Step Adventure website. And here it is. So this is our blog. And I wanted to share the document that Chelsea just showed you is in this post. And it's right here, Why Go Outdoors? So you can kind of see that. And it has a lot of research about the things that we can do outdoors that we can't do indoors with kids. Problem solving skills, critical thinking skills, and all kinds of stuff like that. Going back to the post, one of our team members, Sarah Loki, wrote this post about the experiences that she's having with her kids, getting them outdoors as they've moved to a new community. They're going with homeschooling, the things that happen with her kids. And then some of the other resources that we're looking for. The other thing that I want to share is behind here. Right here. Nope. I know it's here. Yeah, I wanted to look at this, the things that you're looking at in early childhood. And I wanted to talk a little bit, I told you I would tell some stories. In all of these areas of early childhood, and they're not so very different as we move up, especially in the area of science. We've done a lot of work at Next Step Adventure about the next generation science standards, and it's more of a cohesive guide to learning. We're looking for kids to be project-based, for inquiry. So one thing that happens naturally when we take kids outdoors, or when we look at seeds, when we plant things inside, is kids ask a lot of questions. And every time a child asks a question, it's the scientific method of learning. When kids ask questions, our job is not to tell them the answer. Our job is to help them find out what is this? What's the answer here? So looking at all of these areas of learning and thinking, how can we ask the questions? Something that I think is super important when we garden with kids, those of us who love gardening are the ones that are most likely to garden with kids, right? So we love plants. We love to grow like beautiful tomatoes and peaches, and have nice bottles of honey to share with our friends. And we have to leave that behind when we go to the garden with the kids, because the thing that we're growing when we garden with kids is not the produce, it's not the plants, it's really about the kids. We need to turn our focus away from, those straight rows that we like to see in our gardens, and take our focus to the kids that we're working with. I told my small group that I had a group of college kids today. They're part of in my garden. They're part of an ethnobotany group that I had never heard of until a couple years ago. And a friend of mine is a professor at Drake, and she wanted to bring her class to my garden. And a friend of mine said, well, why your garden? Well, ethnobotany is the study of the relationship between plants and people. And I think, at least in my career of working with kids in gardens, I haven't really thought about that very much. I've thought about the plants, I've thought about the produce, I've thought about what we eat, I've thought about how it makes our body healthier, which is a little bit about relationships. But it's also like the things we talked about in this class are, how do you feel about the plants? How do you watch them to see, are they growing? Are they thriving? Or are they suffering a little bit? And when we take kids to the garden and they look to see if do these plants look healthy, or are they a little bit, on the scruffy side? And then moving that from where my ethnobotany visitors were this morning to, they mapped out the garden and they looked, and to where my 2-year-old granddaughter is, we go out to the garden and we planted it together in the spring. So there's absolutely no rows. She threw the seeds in, and then we covered them up, and they grew wherever they grew. Now we go out, and the first thing that she recognized growing in the garden were peas. So now everything with a little round seed is a pea. And then we expanded that from these look like peas, but they're actually just, they're a seed. So I had some cilantro growing in the garden. It got the coriander seeds on it. Oh, these are coriander seeds. They aren't peas. And so spreading that knowledge from this everything is a plant to these look like peas. And first they look like balls, and then they look like peas. And then you see that there's all these common things, but also specific things within those. So some of those kind of huge, big things, you can tell from listening to me that I'm a really big picture person, but getting down to here are the little things that we can teach kids outdoors. And I know it's hard. I know I've done some of that struggling with where do you get to have the garden, and do you have the right tools and things that you need? But I can't say enough about how really important it is. So as you look at these standards, and I know you're all working hard to create those environments that encourage that, and as you go up, you continue to do that. So I want to spend the next 5 minutes, if I can find it again, a little bit more in, whoops, not that one, in Next Step Adventure. And we'll just go there. There we go. Showing you some of the resources, some of the other resources that we have and how to get to them. We have developed since last spring some home learning resources. And one of the big ones that you can use are outdoors. And this is the blog, and that's where you would see Sarah's posts and get kids moving. Inside each of these, or a lot of these blogs, are resources that you can download. Like this one has all the different kinds of things that you could do in the summer, and some different resources. But then if you go up here to the main page, you will see some print and go resources. And we've got mainly 4 different subjects, but in the outdoors, any of these that you would click on, you would find a piece that you could use. So one of the things I want to be sure and touch on, and then we'll go to outdoor classroom management for a minute. I wanted to touch on microgreens. Somebody suggested that in our small group. So these are some resources that we developed this summer, and this is how to grow microgreens. And each of these resources has all the directions you saw at the beginning. There's a veggie sauce, and then how to grow your greens. So you can download those resources. They're always there. That one needs a little work. I'll just go ahead and say that. There's scavenger hunts. There's all kinds of things. And then finally, our classroom management tips. Things to do before you go outdoors that will help you keep your group on track, and then things that you can do while you're outdoors to make it the best experience that you can. And with that, I am turning it back over to Shelley.
Awesome. Thank you. So we are going to actually have you dig into these home learning resources here in just a minute, but not yet. So Chelsea, if you would go back to that Google document. What I have done, and hopefully you can kind of see me too, but I have downloaded all of those home learning resources. And then I printed them out, and I just kind of keep this packet handy so that when I want to, I think to myself, oh, there's that activity that has the My Plate attached to it. I can kind of glance at the printed copies real quick, and then I can navigate the website quickly. But before we get to that, I guess I should start with saying these home learning resources started right during the pandemic. We partnered with Lynn Jenkins and 5210, and we started with these home learning resources, and they were distributed this summer through the lunch programs. And so it has kind of grown from that. We started with Lynn, and Sarah and I are both educators and parents. And so we try to create resources that can be used for multiple age groups. So as you look through these, you may find some that seem too young or too easy for your students, or too difficult. But please just keep clicking around until you find something that may be helpful to you. So Chelsea, if you would please, click on the vegetable investigators. And you can zoom, yeah, that'd be great. So the activities typically include some sort of hands-on activity, an experiment. Most of them have a read aloud. So Chelsea, if you'd want to scroll down just a little bit, there's a YouTube link to a read aloud book that the students can watch. Keep going. My own children's favorite is the joke. I think there might be a joke at the very bottom of this one. Yeah, they're just kind of silly, funny jokes related to the topic. Then you can grow your own bean plant on this vegetable investigators one. So this would be an example. We tried to do most of them in black and white to cut down on the print costs. They print 2 to a page, front to back. Now, Chelsea, if you'd want to go back to the Google document. Awesome. Just a few other ones that we wanted to point out is there's a rainbow activity. And this one is unique because we actually filed it under the art program on our website. So we wanted to make sure that you were aware that not only are there resources under the outdoors tab, but also under the art, social justice, and the mindfulness and movement. So here in just a second, we are going to give you about 3 minutes to click around on the Next Step Adventure website under the home learning resources. And we're going to ask you to try to look for a resource that would work well for your group, or maybe it's something that you want to look into when you have a little bit more time. So I'm going to try to, here in the comments box, I'm going to put the direct link to the home learning resources, and then I'm going to mute myself for 3 minutes. And I'm going to ask you to click around and try to find one resource that you found interesting or something that you have a question about. So ready, go. This is the 1-minute warning. Please share one resource you'd like to explore further or one that you found interesting in the comments box. Okay. Thank you everyone for participating in that. I'm trying to keep up with the comments here. It looks like several of you like the fruit on a stick. Microgreens are super fun. They were new to me this year and we found some at the local farmers market and my own kids would like to start growing them. So they are fun, very interesting. I did want to, somebody, Callie, pointed out that can you find would be fun in the garden. It's amazing how those scavenger hunts really, really engage the students. So yeah, any of the scavenger hunts are fun. Yoga, I completely forgot to point out that Chelsea, if you go to, yes, thank you. We have these activities on our home learning resources, but then if you even go to the top of the Next Step Adventure website, we have a whole section on mindfulness and movement. And a couple of years ago, we created a set of cards that have 5-minute, maybe 10-minute activities that you can do with students or children. And that just exercises in connecting to self, focusing, movement exercises. So those you can find on our website. Let's see, I'm looking, 8 new comments. Oh my gosh, I'm having a hard time keeping up here. Oh yes, in the art section, the rainbow, tying the color to what you eat. The taco salad is delicious. I love that activity. That's a great one. Okay, so
I'm gonna quickly put in a little plug for the yoga and mindfulness. It is probably one of the most important things that you can do is have your kids do belly breathing, or in our mindfulness and movement cards, it's called balloon breathing, I think, and just putting their hands on their tummies and make sure their tummies go out with their inhales and in with their exhales. And you don't have to have any special training to do that. You can totally just have them do that, and then they're getting their diaphragm truly involved in their breath.
awesome. Okay, so I'm keeping a close eye on the time here. We have about 4 minutes left. Oh, the question came in, how much do the yoga cards cost? Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot, Kelly. This is something I should know off the top of my head. Martha, would you mind looking that up and putting
I'll
it?
look it up and
okay.
I'll look it up and put it in the chat.
Thank you for asking that, Kelly. Martha will put it in the chat box. Before I even started talking, I wanted to point out that others linked some grants that are available to purchase supplies for your garden. And I think Chelsea's planning to send those links out to the group. Thank you, Chelsea. In the last 3 or 4-ish minutes, we just want to open it up to you all and ask you, do you have any further thoughts or questions? Can you see yourself using any of these resources moving forward? And if yes, please feel free to type it in the chat box or to unmute yourself and ask your questions or share your thoughts. So this is your time. If you know me well, silence is awkward for me. I'm working on that. So I'm trying to be silent, but I also want to jump in here and just say that we are really thankful for this opportunity to talk to this group. And we are here to help you if we can in any way. So please reach out to us if we can help you.
We still have Susie on. Susie, are you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, there you are. I see your face now. Could we use PABS funding for those cards?
Yeah, the yoga cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Awesome. Especially seeing as how a lot of classes right now are not wanting to do really big physical activity in the classroom because of COVID.
That is
Yeah, that would be a good
great
idea.
Okay. Thank you so much, ladies.
You're welcome. And then Tiffany, thank you for asking that question. If there's a way you can get all these resources sent by email. So Chelsea is going to send you that Google Doc after the call. And so all of those links will be there. And all of those resources on the Next Step Adventure website are free. So you can just download them and print them from there. Awesome. Let's see. I guess we have 1 minute. Is there anything else? Martha, go ahead.
I love the idea of taking naps outside. I use my hammock for that purpose all the time, but kids, great.
Outside nap time. I just want nap time.
Yeah, true. I did a garden class. This is going to be really quick at Moulton Elementary School in Des Moines. It was during the summer. I don't know if it was in the summer, but I had like a whole room full of kids, and we started with yoga, and they were coming back from lunch, and we did some, I asked them to say an animal or a plant, and we did the yoga pose that is like that. So we did like tree pose, and we did, different kinds of poses, down dog. And then I had them lay down for Shavasana and for a little while, and many of them went to sleep. And we were going out to the garden after the yoga to do some bug investigation, I think. And the teachers were just like, oh, please just let them sleep. They need it so badly. And so about probably a third to a half of the kids slept on the floor while the rest of us went back and out and looked at bugs and stuff like that. So just enjoy the kids, enjoy the outside as much as you can. It's the safest and healthiest place for us to be, especially right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martha and Shelley. We're really excited to have you be a part of this training and share these really great resources. Again, we'll follow up right after this training today with the link to that Google Doc that includes all of the links to other resources that we looked at. And I'll share your contact info so that folks can be in touch. All right. We're going to quickly have Lynn Jenkins share a little bit about our culminated Jam Board Farm to School Month Inspiration Board. Here we go.
Yeah, thanks. So I was able to quickly look through and just capture some general themes, and then I pulled over some specific examples from the different groups. So I've tried to color code a little bit as to see what we're looking at. Taste testing of local foods is certainly a big one. And then when able, local foods incorporated into those meals or snacks. And produce is talked about a lot, those fruits and vegetables. We also had some good examples of dairy, especially yogurt, and meat that is either tasted or added to meals. So there were some things that, again, were some specific examples. Apples are super popular, and as many of us know, the fall just really brings that that product availability, and you can do it and try it in so many different ways. Those microgreens, which there was some more conversation on, having kids grow their own. Taste testing is fun. I didn't see it, but we've done, I know, radishes in the fall. You can sometimes get a quick microgreen or a quick radish for kids to grow. Bike blender, if you have the ability and to get one of those or borrow one of those. It's super fun for making smoothies. The pink part is a little bit about where you might get those local foods from. So there was conversation about, from the school garden, so a harvest party, from different food hubs, and there were some specific ones named, but there are a couple of food hubs, and we'll talk about those later. Direct from that farmer, a farm share or a local produce auction. There was also an idea for partnering with your FFA, that they may have some local products that are available. Honey was the other thing that was mentioned in a couple of different of the groups to take to learn more about bees and to taste honey and honeycomb. Those of you who are adjusting to virtual, some of the ideas in this orange area have to do with virtual farm visits, garden education, and food education. So there were talks about using existing resources to see videos on making food or exploring foods, or working with, again, those farmers or gardens in the area to take some quick videos. There was mention of a TikTok if you're really cool and working with older kids. So some of those ideas are there too. And then just what are some ways you can partner? So IowaLocalFoodDay.org has some of those promotional materials. Again, partnering with local restaurants for tastings or tours, and then some mention of combining with 5210 Healthy Estate Month, which is also in October, to really support overall wellness and talk about healthy kids and local foods. So that's what we have.
Awesome. Thank you, Lynn. That's great. And we'll send this out after the training ends today. Really great ideas from everyone. Thank you for sharing and contributing to that. All right, we are at 2:30 and we're going to move into our last portion of the training today, which is all around local food connections. So we're excited to have facilitators lead 2 separate calls. One call will be with early care folks working in in-home centers, in-home providers, centers, and those folks will stay on this line, on this Zoom line, and then we will have a separate K-12 school discussion around local food. And those folks will be joining a new Zoom line. So we will put the link to this new Zoom line into the chat box. And if you work with a K-12 school, you will click on that new chat line and be directed to a separate call. So I'm going to put that in there right now. This call will be, the K-12 call will be facilitated by Carrie Scheidel, Tammy Stotts, and Kayla Cater. So they will be able to share their screen and answer any questions. At the end of this call at 3 o'clock, we will not be coming back together. So at this portion, we just want to say thank you to all of the K-12 folks who attended and will be joining the separate call. You'll wrap up there, but really appreciate your participation today and know that you will enjoy this last portion of our training today around local food. So the Zoom meeting link is now in the chat box. So if you would like to participate in the K-12 school discussion, please click that. You will be removed from this meeting and automatically directed to the new meeting. Please let us know if you have any questions. And again, if you're the early care audience, you just stay on the line.
There's still people heading out. Chelsea, were you going to share your screen? Did you say you were going to do that?
Yep, I will do that. You can hear the chickens in the background. at my house today, so farm to
Perfect.
Zoom.
Perfect background noise.
There you go.
Awesome, thank you. All right. Teresa is going to be helping me to facilitate. I can't even think of what the rest of the slides look like. So Chelsea, I apologize. But Teresa and I will be facilitating this discussion about making local food connections. So we talked about a whole bunch of great ideas of things that we can try and things that we can do for Farm to School Month. And so there's also been hopefully you all heard about the grant opportunity through the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship. So that's also out there, and some people wrote in that they were going to be purchasing some local foods, and there's some other ways with equipment as well that K-12 got to do, but I guess we're all ECE here. So those are the things that we're going to talk about right now, is how to actually get that local food, how to procure that local food so that you can serve it in your program. So Teresa, I want to introduce her. Oh, there you are. I didn't see you. It panicked me there for a second. So I'm glad Teresa is joining us. And I was going to talk a little bit about taste testing, but you know what, I'm going to put that to the side because I want to make sure that we can get to all of the other information. Chelsea, can you go ahead and go to the next slide? I seriously don't remember what's on it. What's next? All right, so some highlights from last year. Teresa, if you want to jump in any old time, you feel free to do that because you know a whole lot more about the stats from Iowa Local Food Day last year.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Iowa Local Food Day is Iowa's chance to celebrate local foods from our farms. This 2020 will be our third year doing this. Last year, the first year it was just K-12 schools. Last year we expanded it to early care centers and college universities, and that's the same case this year. So all three types of educational outlets can participate in Food Day, which is scheduled for October 14th. The cool thing about it is if October 14th doesn't quite work for you, you're free to pick whatever day you want in National Farm to School Month to celebrate all the good stuff we grow here in Iowa. In 2019, we've seen it to be an effective way to increase engagement and knowledge of our food system. In 2019, the meal participation rates increased on Iowa Local Food Day at 33% of the sites, meaning more people ate lunch that day. 2/3 of the sites received positive feedback, not only from the students and staff, but also from the families because they heard about the cool stuff that the kids got to eat that day. We also know that food hubs fill a critical role in helping schools and EC sites and colleges meet their needs for local food for that day. So we're going to talk about what food hubs are and how they can help. And last year, 91% of the sites met the goal of serving 2 varieties of local food. Half of them served 3 or more. So there's some really cool stories out there of all Iowa meals being served. There's lots of different ways to participate. You can do breakfast or lunch or snacks. It's up to you. We just encourage folks to sign up and register their school so they can be counted. Next slide, Chelsea. One of the first things as EC providers, when we go through training with you and talk about best practices on utilizing local foods at your sites, one of the most important things to do is, first of all, define what local means to you. I have some examples on the screen. So many times I see people get stuck in the what I call the hyper-local trap. You know, they view local food as only being something they can get from a farmer's market or direct from a farm. But as you have a bigger type of institution, you need to start thinking about a bigger definition of local. So I have some examples from where I live, which is in Northeast Iowa, you know, Luther College, they actually do a 2-hour drive time for their definition of local. The food co-op uses 100 miles. Dubuque Schools is the picture that you see on the screen. They actually have a local definition of 150 miles and a regional definition of Midwest. So any of the states that touch Iowa, it fits into their regional description. Food hubs may also have their own definitions. Iowa State University defines the state. So as you can see, the more mouths that you're feeding, maybe the bigger definition you'll need. But you'll want to think about what that definition means for your particular site. Next slide. Krista, you can do this one.
You can tell we really planned this one out. Yeah, so there are, again, just referring back to that Jamboard that Lynn shared with us with all of the different ideas that we can do throughout the month. Make sure that you do include Local Food Day somehow, or Local Food Week, or like Teresa said, anytime. So you'll plan what you want to do, and then you can register for it. And is there a link on here? Do we have a link in the information? Chelsea, do you know?
Yep, we'll send it out
Sending
afterwards.
that out.
It will be on.
Okay, perfect. And also, once you get registered, I'm assuming, Teresa, you can answer this one. I'm assuming that once they get registered, they'll put in whether they're an early care site or whatever, and they can look around the Iowa map and see who else is registering as well. See how many other early care sites are registering on there. And last year, I know that we had quite a few more than the year before, so let's increase that this year. So in order to find and purchase local food, use the different directories. There is, if you go to Iowa State, the extension, you probably have all those links included in the information that'll go out as well. There's a lot of information on the directories. There's the Food Hub directory. There is actually a PDF that we'll share with you too, that you can actually link directly to websites, and has all the contact information for food hubs. But there are a whole lot of other ways that you can connect with local foods. And I think that's on another slide, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I know. Yeah. Now, and make sure that when, you know, whatever it is that you're going to do, promote it. Make sure that families know what you're doing, and get them involved as much as you can. Obviously, you're not able to have families on site like we used to. We've got, again, with the COVID restrictions, but send out, put things in newsletters, send out flyers. If you have like a Facebook page for your program, you know, make sure you put it on there, really hype it up and make it an exciting opportunity for the kids and for the families. And IDALS actually has a whole lot of resources, and again, we'll get you information of how to connect with the Iowa Department of Agriculture to get posters and all kinds of information, so you can promote Local Food Day all through your site. And anytime in October is time to celebrate local food. So you know, I didn't even think about it before, but that October 14th is clearly an important day this month, because we have that, there's that National Farm to School Equity meeting going on that day, and that's right in the middle of the month for our Local Food Day. So just make sure you really just celebrate local food throughout the month with your kids at your site.
Okay, next slide, Chelsea. So I wanted to talk a little bit about places to find local food. Actually, I'm gonna have you go to the next one. Oh, it didn't show up. Okay, I had a slide in here where I was going to talk about places to look for local food. If you, as a ECE provider, you know, a lot of people right away think, oh, I'm going to buy directly from the farm or go to a farmer's market. There are options available, other places you can search as well. Some farms have memberships in their farm, and it's called a community supported agriculture, or CSA. This time of year, there's maybe not so much CSA signing up if you're not a member already, but it's definitely something you could look into in the spring, where you buy a membership in that farm, and then you get a weekly delivery of usually produce items. Hey, there it is. You could also buy, obviously, products directly from a farm stand or a store or a farm store. Some farms will even deliver right to your center if you talk to them. These are all worth conversations worth having. In some parts of the state, there are specialty stores that feature a lot of local products. Even some of the co-op grocery stores pride themselves on serving a large percentage of local foods. I love going to those types of co-ops because you can see at a glance what is local, what farm it came from, and it's really easy to understand and make that connection. The last source that we're going to talk a little bit about today are the food hubs and what they can do for schools and EC sites. A food hub is a business. Some of them are nonprofits, some of them are LLCs, some of them are corporations, but they specialize in local foods. So here in Iowa, we have a food hub managers working group that they get together. Now during Farm to School Month, they're actually meeting every week to troubleshoot and figure out how we're going to support all the great activity that's happening in Iowa around local foods during this time. You know, this is the, just like harvest season is coming up for all the other farmers, it's big time of year for Farm to School for those farmers who want to engage in those markets. Next slide. So that Food Hub Manager Working Group are folks from all the different food hubs across the state. You can see some of them that are on your screen. They are color coded, so you can kind of see where their service area is. The food hubs are all different types. Some of them specialize in just farm to consumer. So an example some people might be familiar with would be the Iowa Food Co-op. They run more like a grocery store. People order products from them and then the farmers bring it in and people pick it up. Some hubs work more like a distributor. Iowa Food Hub, Farm Table Delivery are two of the food hubs that specialize in larger items, case sizes, and they want to help service school food service and colleges with their bulk order needs. So depending on the food hubs that are near you, they offer different opportunities to plug in to the food system. Next slide. Krista has put together this wonderful handout of the different types of food hubs that are operating in the state. You can see if they are a retail food hub, a wholesale food hub, or if there's some type of hybrid. There's some hubs that are doing both. And you can see the service area. This link will be in that come out at the end of today. Chelsea, they're like jumping around on you. It doesn't want to go. The next slide was going to be some of the top 12 foods that I often will tell people to start looking at, especially when it comes to, well, I do have a dairy item on there now, but it always used to be fresh fruits and vegetables. When they think about, well, what can we serve? What's the easiest to serve? And then what's most cost effective in the state? These are the 12 foods that we've had the most success with in Northeast Iowa. So those would be some things to start when you look at your journey for sourcing more local. Next slide. And is that the end of the day slide? That is, okay. So at this point, Krista, should I turn it over to, you want to introduce Tony?
Yeah, so those of you that were in my breakout group before, Tony Thompson joined us from Prudent Produce, and he is the manager of one of those food hubs that Teresa was just talking about. He's on that map, and his information is also in that that table, the PDF that will be included. And Tony, I would like for you to just share share what you do and how you could partner with some ECE sites in your area, what you could do for them.
Yeah, so my family owns Prudent Produce, and we bought that business 3 years ago. It had previously been focused primarily on organics with very little emphasis on local. And with my own farming experience and my stint on the board of the Iowa Food Co-op, I wanted to bring local into Prudent Produce. So now we buy local whenever we can and supplement it with organic produce coming from around the country. And we're looking for opportunities to help connect whoever wants to eat local food with the growers of that local food. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't really have much more of a presentation other than to say we do a lot of smaller quantities typically. I actually this week listed a 20-pound case of zucchini because we had one customer that wanted that, or a 5-pound bag of juice carrots, that kind of thing. So we can get into a little bit larger quantities, and if there's interest in that, I'd be happy to help facilitate. Our big thing is the delivery. Like, we really make it easy so you don't have to go someplace to pick it up. That's been very popular here the past 6 or 7 months with COVID, as you might imagine. So we deliver between Adel and Newton and Ames to Indianola, so 4 or 5 central Iowa counties, and we'd be happy to help facilitate delivery of local produce in whatever way might be desired.
That's great, Tony, thank you. And I just wanted to point out really quick too, I know as early care sites, a lot of you are serving bananas, and clearly those are not grown locally. So, that is definitely one benefit, I would say too, of Prudent Produce, is you can buy your bananas and your local apples or whatever through Prudent Produce. So there's that. And also, I'm putting you on the spot, Tony. He mentioned in our breakout group that he might be putting together some videos that he'd be willing to share. So I'm calling him out because I think it'd be awesome if he did that. He was talking about taking your daughter, you said, out maybe and doing some videos. So which would be awesome for some virtual farm tour stuff. So like I said, I'm putting him on the spot and calling him out because I really think that would be awesome if he did that. So everybody harass him about that.
Well, I'm going to go pick up my 2.5-year-old daughter here, and as soon as this call is over, so maybe we'll go out and
there you go. There you go. Sounds good. All right. Are we ready to open it up to some questions? Teresa, did you have anything else to add?
No, but Martha, I was just looking at, I was not familiar with shea or cloverleaf. So I was just over looking at their website. Yes, they are an Iowa farm. They would, just like any of these local businesses, it's great to have them participate. Fluid milk is something that we have excluded specifically from Iowa Local Food Day, just because technically all of our milk in Iowa is local and everybody's already serving it. So we wanted people to go beyond what that would mean. I would say though, when we talk to schools about doing a procurement plan or setting up procurement goals, what would it look like to shift some of their purchases to a local source? So what would it look like to shift, a few gallons a week to a dairy like that? Or what would it look like to offer cheese from, or yogurt from a local dairy? So that would be another great example of something that fits into what we want to see with Farm to School. Specifically for Iowa Local Food Day, the local milk, it's not something we would count.
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
so I totally lied in my breakout group about that then, because I was just thinking that was about the grant that liquid milk didn't count, but I did not realize that also was for Local Food Day. So apologies. If anybody says, Krista said, well, I lied.
Well, and they're fairly new in the business of, they've offered milk to groceries, but they're doing delivery services.
There's some,
now.
There's childcare centers all across Iowa that are utilizing local dairies. I know Kaleidoscope in West Union, WW Homestead Dairy supplies all of their milk. I think Anita and some folks down in the Iowa City area are using Dan and Debbie's milk. So that's definitely something that you could utilize into your program and count it towards your annual local food procurement goals. You know, if you want to spend $2,000, $5,000 a year on local food, that's something that definitely works into that part of your farm to school, farm to ECE program.
I should say that Prudent Produce offers a lot more than just fruits and vegetables. So we do have a dairy section and a cheese section and a yogurt section and an ice cream section. And that being all of that, I think is local. When we say local, part of the local is also the values of the producer, and sort of local in terms of being small a lot of times as opposed to an industrial. So I don't want to confuse definitions of local for the purposes of grants and what IDOLS uses, but to us at Prudent, it's not only about a number of miles, it's also about an ethic or a values system behind how those producers operate. But if you want some introduction to cheeses, we have a lot of local cheeses that I would be happy to deliver to you and help get that kicked off.
Other questions from folks? For those, are there any folks that applied for some of the grant funding? Would they be willing to share what they want to do?
Their plan.
Is there a way that I at Prudent Produce can help, or the food co-op or farm table delivery, like some of these entities that I interact with frequently? Are there ways that we can help you to take first steps?
So serving local food on meals for meals is definitely what I consider to be the ultimate goal for farm to ECE. I would love to see all these places incorporate locally produced items for those meals. Now sometimes it takes years for sites to get to that point. So there's all these baby steps in between that can happen and are perfect stepping stones to end up to your larger procurement goals. In the breakout group we had earlier, and sorry for those who were sitting in my room, you're going to hear this part again. Some of the things that you could try is go with a different theme once a month. So, you know, this month is a great time to be featuring some of the different fall fruits that are out there, you know, whether it's apples or melons, raspberries. Having a taste test of different kinds of apples or different colors of watermelon would be a great way to have a lesson to incorporate and talk about what local foods are. Then if you serve it as part of that teaching lesson, then incorporate it into a meal later. October is a great time of the year for fall vegetables. So things like cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower are all examples of things that are still be around, even if it does get a little chilly. So what are some things that you could do to talk about those types of vegetables and have kids try those foods in different ways? So there are programs out there where you can have, you know, find those different things and have them ordered and brought to you. It's also something where if you're a smaller site, it wouldn't take much to find, you know, a few different kinds of apple varieties to do a simple taste test lesson. So it's all about those little steps and how you can continue to build and give kids experiences.
Teresa, we had a question from Beth. Do any of the food hubs deliver to the Waterloo area?
Sort of. So there are a couple different places, organizations in the Waterloo area that can help you. I would like to connect you with Jody. I don't know if she's in our group. She can offer some advice. I do know that Chad Thomas does deliveries and does some aggregating in that area. And there are some other groups farms that will deliver to you as well. So Jody is the person to connect to. Iowa Food Hub used to be in Waterloo every week, but right now we're not currently delivering there.
So for people that do want to connect like directly to farmers, where would you suggest that they go? Because I know like if you look at that food hub map, there's a big area in Northwest Iowa that doesn't have any specific food hubs. So where would you suggest that they look to make connections with local farmers directly?
So there are some different resource guides, and I think they're on the information that Chelsea's going to send out, or at least links to the pages that have them. So, there are different directories out there. And, even the extension offices in those areas will have a better idea of who are the folks that are doing home deliveries. Are they doing online ordering? What's happening there? So I think that at this point it would be shoot me an email and I'll try and connect you with somebody that can help you. And I put my email in the chat box.
Perfect. Any other questions? Does anybody have an experience that they've done with Local Food Day that they'd want to share with everybody as far as ideas or thoughts?
Well, it was pretty easy to contact through the Iowa State Extension Office to get a different farmers and different ways that they grow their product. And then since I have my own garden, we took some of the stuff we grew and we compared it with the different things the farmers grow. So the kids were able to see the differences in a lot of the different foods and the tasting. Like on squash, we made squash soup. We made grilled squash, we had roasted squash, we had steamed squash, we had baked squash. So the kids got to try it in many different forms. We even tried it raw too. So they could actually see the different textures and how the kids appreciate the little things. They got to do the work too.
Yeah, squash is one of those really fun ones because there's 800 different kinds, shapes, colors. And then even when you cut them open, they're different kinds, shapes, colors, and seeds. And, having that experience of they're all cousins and they're all in the same family, the diversity is very there, opens up all sorts of interesting conversations.
And Delicata make really good squash fries that kids love.
Thanks for sharing that, Gladys.
I second that about the delicata. I hadn't heard of it until I had a grandma bring some in from her garden for us to use, and we just cut it all up. You don't even have to peel it, and we cut it all up and put it in olive oil and then sprinkled cinnamon on it, and all of my preschoolers ate it like it was candy. It was really, really good.
Delicata is one of those that I'll see schools prepare. They call them squash smiles because you can leave the skin on it. So you cut it into half moons and roast it, and then the kids can just eat it as a smile.
Oh, cute. Anyone else want to share? We have just a couple minutes. Or my computer time is off, actually.
Has anybody done much with seeds, like pumpkin seeds? I think they're delicious, surprisingly, extra delicious. And it might be a neat time to talk about seeds, you know, eating seeds as well as planting seeds.
Mhm.
Maria had a comment about using Capital City fruit out of Des Moines. They also have feature local products. That's one where we need to start, you know, their definition of local is the Midwest. So they might have local on their list, but it's actually produce coming out of Minnesota or Missouri. And it's all great. Just make sure you're aware that sometimes the definitions of local don't always jive up with what you're expecting. But they are another good source of local products. I work with a lot of farms that get GAP certified so that they can sell to Capital City. So that would be another place to look. Now, with that being said, if you have a mini grant or will be getting a mini grant from IDOLS, you can't use a distributor. So Capital City would be one of those distributors that you're not supposed to use your funds for. They want you to use your funds direct from a farm or a food hub or produce auction.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you so much everyone for coming. Teresa, will you just throw your email in again? I know it's not up there, but Teresa, if you have any questions, or me or Chelsea or actually any of us, we can connect you with the right people. So thank you so much.